I want to use this lesson to talk about other foods, specifically leftovers. If you decide to buy what you need to make these minute meals, you can pretty much take the word leftovers out of your vocabulary because they're no longer leftovers. They're minute meal portions. Think about it. Let's say you make a big Thanksgiving dinner. You got a lot of turkey and stuffing left over. What do? You try to serve it to your family. Maybe you hear a few complaints. What, turkey again? You might make sliced turkey sandwiches. Maybe you grind it up and make turkey salad sandwiches. You chop it up and put it with pasta and make turkey pasta salad. You look for ways to use it up. Well, you don't need to do all that. You saw what I did in an earlier lesson when I took all the meat off the bones of 2 rotisserie chickens that I bought at Costco, portioned it all, cut it up, packed it away for protein portions for my minute meals. You can do that with the leftover turkey. Portion the stuffing as well. Put it in the refrigerator, put it in the freezer. After a few weeks, when they've forgotten that turkey that they had for Thanksgiving, then start bringing it out and serving them turkey again. By then they'll be ready to eat turkey again. Or what about this? Maybe you have a son or daughter in college and they come home for the holidays. Put the leftovers in the freezer by portioning them, put them away as minute meals, and then before your son or daughter goes back to college, pack a styrofoam case with frozen portions. As long as they have a freezer in their college apartment and a microwave oven, they can be eating homemade meals for a while at college. Could be really simple. You're going to make mashed potatoes for a big Sunday roast or something. Make a lot, or make a lot of squash if that's what you like to make. Make extra, because the leftovers become minute meal portions. Now you do need one thing if you're going to go this far, and let me show you that. You're going to need room in your freezer. Here's my freezer. I have made so many videos about minute meals that my freezer is packed. Soups and stews up here. These are protein portions. My door is packed with vegetables. There's more protein portions down here. There are uncooked raw foods frozen down there. I have so much food packed away in my freezer from videoing this lesson set for you that I think it's reasonable to estimate that I probably don't need to cook again for the next 6 months. I'm serious. I could live off of minute meals from my freezer, I believe, for the next 5, if not 6 months. I do have one more quote-unquote leftover that I need to pack up, so I want to show you that, and then I'm going to talk about other types of leftovers, other foods that you may need to find a way to store. Yesterday, as planned, I made pizza, and this is my leftover pizza. I have roughly half a pizza here. I love homemade pizza. I'm certainly not going to put this to waste. So what I'm going to do is cut this up. This is just like the frozen pizza, only better, that you see in the grocery store in the frozen food case. You can buy that pizza, take it home, bake it, or you can make your own. In my case, it's already baked, right? I'll just have to warm it up in the microwave. All right, I have some plastics ready here to use. Slide my pizza in there. All right. I think I got that the way I want it. Put this on my impulse heat sealer. And seal it. I can trim that edge off, don't need it. And there is some sliced pizza. You can put these 4 away like this, put them in the freezer. I've got frozen pizza whenever I want to heat it up and eat it. Again, this is going to probably take, one slice will probably take 2 minutes to warm up in the microwave. So there is my quote-unquote leftover pizza. These are minute meals now. This is ready to go in the freezer. The other thing I want to show you is sometimes I have leftover ingredients when I cook something. For example, I made some fresh tomato and basil soup this week. I have left over most of a can of tomato paste. Putting a piece of plastic wrap on top isn't going to do this any good. Within a couple of days, it'll be all black around the top. If I leave it in there much longer, it's going to be covered with mold. I have a way to put this away. From making my pizza, I have a couple of Italian sausages left over. I can put these in the freezer, but they're going to need to be in something else. This was the original package, and that's not very well protected. And then finally, I have some leftover raw chorizo. I can put this back in the freezer. This was in the freezer. It was a full-size chub. I have a little bit left over. I don't want to waste this because I like chorizo. So let me show you how I'm going to put these away. First thing I want to do is my tomato paste here. I put my plastic pouch inside of the bottom of a plastic jar that I typically use for something like this, just to hold it open while I do this. Okay, I think I got most of it there. I'll wash this can and put it in recycling. And then push my tomato paste down toward the bottom by just tamping it down. I fold the plastic over like so. All right. And then I press down to kind of fill all the air space in there with my tomato paste. So I have a nice even little packet. Another corner to fill there. And then I seal it really close to that folded edge. Okay. Trim the edge off. Now, what I'll do is I can put this in the refrigerator. This will keep a lot longer than it would have in that can. It's not going to keep forever. It'll still get moldy. But with no air exposure, I've protected it better. And when I go to use it, I'll trim a corner off with the scissors. I'll squeeze out what I need, a tablespoon or two, to make that soup again. And then I can push the tomato paste back away from that opening, place it on my heat sealer, and reseal the bag. And I can use this bag several times until I use up all of this tomato paste. So there's my tomato paste done. Going to prepare another packet. Okay, same thing. This is my chorizo wrapped in plastic. I'm going to use this again because that's a very soft product. It's sort of like the tomato paste. And chorizo, if you've bought it, you've seen that it comes already packed in a plastic sleeve. I'm just going to squeeze it out. Put that aside. And then I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the tomato paste. In fact, I'm going to use my same spoon here to push it down. Right, fold it over, press it down to squeeze out the air and shape it into a little neat packet. Seal it close to that fold. Trim it. And there again, I've got a nice little packet of chorizo. I can cut off, squeeze out what I need, maybe cook it with some eggs. That's a popular way to eat chorizo. Or I can put it in soup. And then finally, my Italian sausages. These are easy. The length of these are just about right to fit in the width of these plastic pouches. They usually require a little bit of pushing to squeeze them in there, but they'll go in there well enough. Most of what I am interested in here is the meat, because I use the meat in different recipes, such as with pasta and sauce. Heat seal that. And the same thing, trim it if I want. There's my Italian sausage. These I can either keep in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 days, or I can put these in the freezer and use them much later when I need to. I have one more left over to demonstrate. I bought a large package of ground beef for a recipe. I decided to experiment. I put half of the leftover ground beef in one of these vacuum sealer bags that I sealed with my vacuum sealer. The other remaining half I put in one of my poly tubing packets. I'm pushing that down to get as much air out as I can. There we go, like that. Get it down into the corners. I think that'll just about do it. Excellent. And I'm going to seal that with my impulse heat sealer, like so. And then I'm going to put both of these in the back of the freezer and forget about them and see what they look like in a while. And I'm going to show you the reason why I'm going to do this experiment. This is ground beef that I had wrapped in plastic wrap, put in a Ziploc bag in my freezer. It used to be as red as this, and look at it now. It's all turned dark. It's red on the inside, but this has been in my freezer. I took it out yesterday to let it thaw, and I looked at it and I thought there's got to be a better way to store beef than in plastic wrap, which I know is not a good idea. So that is my experiment. So there I've shown you a few ways to store other foods, leftovers, for example, that you want to use as minute meal portions, or the leftover ingredients from some foods that you've used. There are other ways to do it. I have one of these vacuum sealer food saver appliances, and it works. The problem with this is the bags for these, the rolls of plastic wrap for these vacuum sealers can be very expensive. I do use them. I use them for foods where I really want to protect the food away from air, such as putting steaks, expensive steaks, raw steaks, in the freezer. The vacuum sealer works well for that. When I make homemade pasta dough, sometimes I make a lot and I put the dough in the freezer. The vacuum sealer works very well because you have to really keep oxygen away from pasta dough, otherwise it turns gray after a while. But for most things that I want to put away and keep them safe either in the freezer or store them well in the refrigerator for an extra few days, I find that the heat sealer with those plastic pouches work very well. And it's a way of saving money as well. It's economical.